Hello, everybody, and welcome to this People of TAO Spotlight. Today, I am delighted to welcome the one and only Seby Rubino from Subnet 46, Resi Labs. Hi, Seby, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for your time today. It's very much appreciated. And one of my intentions with these is to show a different side of people from all parts of the Bittensor community. So I appreciate you coming along and joining us. I like to start with the same question every time. So that is, share an object or something that is special and meaningful to you, and tell us a little bit about why you chose it.
Honestly, it might be a bit of a simple answer, but I have a gold cross. I'm not wearing. I just actually got out of the shower, so I'm not wearing it right now. But I have a gold cross, a crucifix. Reason why it's important to me is because I think that this world is too immaculate to not be controlled by some sort of divine or created by some sort of divine being. And I grew up Roman Catholic and uh, see myself as someone following Christian values, and having a little uh, reminder of that every day is something I find really important. There's a lot of especially in crypto, there's a lot of bad actors, and there's a lot of people who are going to live life without morals, and especially what we call like right, degenerative. And I think that the regenerative crowd is something that I assimilate to better. And I think my faith is part of that, a big part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that. I love that question because everyone comes out with something really different and quite personal. So, and I think you have a very good point about bad actors. Uh, I, I just think that there's so many good people in the world that quite often they get drowned out by uh, news or feeds that just focus on certain aspects. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thank you
Very
for
much
asking.
appreciated.
Many people are just like, how are you going to make us money? Which is great. But it is great to share a bit of, okay, who is this person? What do they actually believe in? Right. I love Jill's answer, right? Jill talking about her experience coaching, especially volunteering to coach girls. And I was like, wow, I did some coaching. I don't have any kids, but I did some coaching for school sports, and I loved her answer. But yeah, thank you for asking.
It's my pleasure. I love doing these. Every time I do this, I am surprised. My heart is warmed, and yeah, it reminds me that there's a lot of good people in the world. So thank you for being so open. Now, as you mentioned, people do want to know about how you're going to make money. They'll make them money or help them make them money. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement in the BitTensor ecosystem in just a few words, and then we'll go a bit deeper. How did you come to this world?
So I guess we'll start right with my origin to the BitTensor. Learn like how did I find out about BitTensor, and what were the deciding factors to jumping in. Um, I found out about BitTensor through the owner of Subnet 6. I was working at a growth firm. He was one of like the marketing mentors and marketing advisors to that firm. And he was doing all this stuff in BitTensor, and he kept talking about BitTensor. My boss was like, Seby, you should really look into this. Like, it's quite interesting, but I don't have the time. I was like, okay. So I looked into BitTensor, and everybody talks about how there is this like hurdle you have to get past. BitTensor is very complicated, and I, I I completely towpilled myself uh, by just saying I don't know what's going on here at face value. I need to learn more because there was a long time where there's crypto didn't really challenge me in terms of why are we using crypto, how are we using crypto, and BitTensor is this elaborate elaborate schemes of horrible word, but let's say dance of cryptography, tokenomics, and human coordination that was incredibly clear from day one. And ever since then, uh, I'd been extremely interested. So that's how I found out about BitTensor and what got me through. Really, there's like this like a critical point of the rabbit hole. You get to like 100 meters down, and you're like, oh, I can breathe now. There's oxygen again, and I got there. Um, what told me to get involved was honestly, I've had a weird relationship with work. Right. I've had an entrepreneurial mind. I've always been an entrepreneur for like the past 2 years. I was, working at growth firms. I worked at Maple Finance as well. And I realized BitTensor is a human coordination system. That's really it in its simplest form. We're incentivizing useful people to do useful work in a competitive way. I've also always been competitive, always been into sports. And that understanding that allowed me to say, "Holy cow, I have to jump in. I have to play this game." And that was when I started putting like all of my money into BitTensor, truthfully, before buying a subnet and really putting all my money into BitTensor.
Yeah, I put all my money into Bittensor as well. Once you get toe-pilled, once you go down that rabbit hole, I always say I came for the money, but I stay for the vision, because when you see what can be created, what you're doing to the whole property, with the whole property market. And it always makes me think, I read somewhere how in India, there are some districts where they're putting the land registry onto the blockchain to make it more efficient. And then you look at, say, what Max is doing with school right now, and there's so many potential use cases that are just totally going to change the world and make things for the better. It's just quite fascinating. And I look at someone like yourself, and so, you put your money in, you had this dream, and I think, how on earth do you go to buy in a subnet to actually put in all the pieces together? I mean, that just amazes me. The things you must have to think, to put together all the pieces of the puzzle. Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll go into it's really how I came to the point where I was like, there's a subnet, I want to buy it. And then kind of start to piece together the real estate side of it. Um, so one day, as every day, I am on Tau Stats, and I see this new thing, subnets for sale. That's new, right? And I had been in Discord messaging people like, please let me buy your subnet. Please let me buy your subnet. And even before that, I was working with a group of miners, like these, like the IT guy from JP Morgan, the uh, AI chip, or the GPU rather, algorithm guy from Intel, and like all these different uh, people that were coming together to form like a mining team. And they were like, why don't we just buy a subnet? And I was like, because we don't know what we would do with it. Like, you can't just like, these people are hard. You can't just buy a subnet and not have anything to do with it. And that was, say, like June, right? Like March to June of this year. From June, or from July to the end of August, I had been working at Maple Finance. And at Maple Finance, I really learned that RWAs are coming. They are here, like uh already, but growing at I think Kinsey did a report where it's 50% per year until 2032, with front loaded growth being much more accelerated. So I saw that and I was like, whoa. The one thing that I know that not many other people know in this industry is real estate, right? My family is a real estate family, developers, contractors. realtors, investors, every single person essentially. And I had run a real estate business in the past. Putting all this together, I knew the importance of RWA. I ran a basically an AI wrapper for predictive data back in 2020. That was like my first big break, was exiting that. And the covenant to compete, right, the non-compete clause in that exit ended in March. So I was like, this is perfect timing. I have this business model I know how to run. I know RWs are here. I know BitTensor, at least enough to be dangerous. And then the list subnets for sale or list your subnet feature came live on TAO Stats, and I jumped right in. That is how I decided it was just an opportunity, and I don't regret it for a minute. I'll tell you this: I sold mostly Zcash to buy my subnet, which at $30 to sell, right? There's something, there's a meme there. But I don't regret it for a second.
It's swapping one opportunity for another, isn't it? And I think what you're creating with the bigger picture in the longer run is probably the better bet.
Yeah, definitely.
It's,
Definitely.
and a lot more fun than just holding something.
Yeah. It's definitely more fun. I mean, a lot of people are like, don't let them get to you. I'm like, let them get to me. But like these people in like chats who are a bit harsh, I'm like, let them get to me. Like, this is like the best part of my day. It's like going back at people and having to articulate my thoughts. There is so much fun to be had in this ecosystem. Although from the outside looking in, it might seem harsh or you know, hard to please. That's the fun of it, right? I like how Const has the mentality of we have to be toxic per se, or else we won't survive, right? It's a way that we evolve faster. Um, and right at the end of the day, it's just business, right? So we can't take it too personally. Everybody's trying to protect themselves, and I'm not only trying to protect my holders, uh, my team, myself, but also my vision, right? So we're all going back and forth, and I think we converge to a point of success if we are more harsh on each other than not.
I think if you can learn to understand that and build the defense shield depending on your personality that you need for that, um, it's easier, but it's a very good way to make it better. And I think as a community, when I say as a community, the gigabrains and the people who, like your market really, really well from your experience. And when you add the different sets of experience and come together and have those hard discussions, that is indeed how we make it better. And at the end of the day, that's all any of us want. We all want TAO and the DTAO and the subnets to succeed, because we're all here to make our lives better ultimately through this vision. And I think also, we can make the world a better place, create opportunity for people who don't even know that they're using something from Bittensor as well. I think that's the beauty of it. In years to come, there are going to be so many people that are interacting with Bittensor subnets who have no idea, but they'll be interacting with them because in some way it will be bringing value to their life in one way or another, be that cheaper LLM usage or whatever it might be. So it's an amazing thing. And you touched upon something there. You're trying to, you're looking after yourself. You're looking after your team on the subnet. You're looking after your holders. You're looking after your clients. It's always struck me that subnet owners have many constituents or clients to look after, often with competing interests and competing needs. That must be a very tricky balance to juggle at times.
Yeah. Well, we recently spoke with Const, and he had something pretty profound to say. He said, just like the essence of what he was saying was just simplify. right? Serve one person, right? And have that thing, that mechanism serve that one person and go deep there, right? And in our case, it is the real estate pricing. So yeah, like we can service a ton of different type of clients and have these different interests, and they all have to converge to push pushing code in a certain direction, right? And if they're conflicting, that gets very hard, right? Because you have a team that you don't want to overbloat. You have this group of clients that you need to serve, but if they have so many different demands, it's hard to align the two. So I definitely agree and see that, and that's why we've made certain decisions. We'd rather not, we will one day boil the ocean, right? But let's start by boiling a pond, right? And yeah, let's make it that pond a hot tub, for a bunch of people, and have them be one type of person in one area, and that's it. And then let's make the technology to boil the ocean, in a year's time, right? In 2 years' time. All examples and analogies here, but I 100% agree with you. It's very hard. And the counter to that is you have to simplify, right? If you can't do one thing right, nobody's going to care if you do everything, right? Uh, and that's our whole point, right? What is the most important thing to bring real estate on chain? It is being able to verify the price of that property. And the price is really just a proxy of the condition of the property, right? You mentioned talking to Score. So we have some, or Score themselves. We have an upcoming announcement with them because we need to be able to see the property. We need to be able to inspect the property. We need to be able to price that property. And if we could just do that one thing tremendously well, everything else happens that we want. We're already serving the people we want to serve, and maybe it differentiates from there. But yeah, I agree. It's hard to balance, but once you do, uh, the gates open, and it's only possible if you simplify it. All right. Uh, there, like, simplicity sells, simplicity scales, and that's what we are focused on right now.
That word simplicity, I think, is so important. And I think it's missing across Bittensor in some ways. Even from, you look at some of the communications and there's conversations. I'm not going to pretend to understand half of what I read. And, especially some of the more financial related ones and rappers and this, and which is why I stay away from them. I respect and admire what they're doing, but I haven't had the time to learn that. And I think successful subnets will be the ones that simplify what they're doing for the focus, like you say, so you can build a solid foundation, be a big fish in a small pond, and take it from there, but also simplify how they talk about what they're doing to those of us that are more smooth brained, shall I say. And because obviously you need the people to buy your alpha, you need people to buy what you're doing. So the people you sell your product to, if people can't understand what you're doing because you haven't simplified your message enough, then you're fighting an uphill battle for sure.
I do think, and this is kind of a side note, it will help when the masses start coming to BitTensor. Once they realize the scrutiny these subnets have been under and have pushed through, and scrutiny is only going to make us stronger. Like even this morning, I was going back and forth in chats with people. It's every day, right? And it needs to be every day, or else there's people slip, right? And you can't catch something fast enough. That is wrong. So I think that when people come and they say, "Oh my God, these guys have been, pushed to the brink of the core concept of what they're doing and the full vision." We have to have the full vision in a concise way to the point that you can type in a Discord message in the middle of an argument, right? I think I think people will have more trust in what all of the subnets are doing because we all fall under this extreme scrutiny, which is needed to make anything new succeed.
And this is very new. I think we forget how how new this is, how early we are. Even though Bittensor has been going for several years, I mean, it's not learned to walk yet.
Yeah.
You know, we're that early. So, which is also incredibly exciting. So, yeah. So, for Resi Labs, you're the big fish in the small pond of people who need prices for real estate, for properties. So, who are those people? Who are you going to be selling to?
These are fractionalized real estate protocols. Essentially shows you have 3 steps. You have a real property, and then you have the act of tokenizing that property, right? So you split up that property into, say, tokens, shares, and then you just have, right, in the way that it's done today, you just have no inspection or appraisal, no uh, validated images, and the end result is a skeptical investor. So these real estate protocols are like, why is nobody buying these tokens? This makes no sense. No institutions are coming in. No large whales are coming in. And you're just getting people who are like, yeah, let me see if I could put $50 into this, which that's not going to take an industry off. So what we come in and do, and I'm sorry, this might be a little blurry. Hold on. I don't know if that will
It's
help.
okay.
But what we come in and do is say, all right, well, you have a property. Before you tokenize it on this platform, let's verify that the property exists in the condition that you are claiming, right? Because if I post a property for sale today, you don't know, this is on chain. You don't know if that property is, taken over by squatters, or you don't know if I'm a hoarder, right? And like over the last 3 years, I have trashed the place. You don't know, like, even if there's little things, or like the boiler is completely broken. So that is what we're coming in and doing, saying, and this is it in the simplest form. Chainlink has the luxury of pricing an asset that is always the same. Bitcoin, Ethereum, every Solana token is the same. Every property is different, and we are solving that problem. And the way that we're solving that problem is very simple. Here's a competition to price properties at a national scale. Whoever is the best at that, we will use your model as the product. And as we productize that product, we will return value to you and all the other miners that essentially helped you get better and forced you to get better by doing buybacks and then attracting more builders who stake more tokens and go through the whole loop of usage.
Create a virtuous circle or a flywheel.
Yes, that flywheel.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone new to the TAO community who was maybe interested in building or acquiring a subnet?
Understand if you need a subnet. First thing. I've had a few people come to me and they're like, hey, here's this idea. I want to build this thing out. I'm like, you might not want to hear this, but you're not telling me a subnet. You're telling me an application that should use subnets. I think every AI application should use, in the simplest case, shoots, right? If you're an AI, let's just say AI therapist, right? Or, let's just go with that example. That should be an application that uses shoots or uses gradients to fine tune based on what the user is, inputting, and other external resources that you can, adaptively or dynamically introduce into the equation to, fine tune with, always improving, right? So what I would say is understand if you actually need a subnet. I have a presentation on Tuesday about Bittensor and this exact subject. I'm going to give you the crux of it. In the on-chain world, Bittensor is a nation. The resources of that nation, the raw materials that build up the great nation to build the highways and the street lamps and the skyscrapers and the sewage plants, these are the primitives. right? This is your Shoots, this is your Liam, this is your Targon, this is gradients, Ready AI for labeling and score, and all these foundational models and storage, Hippias, uh, all of these like essential ingredients to make intelligence, right, in this nation. Then you have the states. These states are industrial level subnets that produce a good. And this good ideally is infrastructure. So for Resi, we provide real estate intelligence infrastructure so that others can build on top of us. We might build some obvious products and return that value all through alpha buybacks. But the idea is that many other people will build using our infrastructure, right? And then we have the DeFi layer. This allows exports to other chains, right? This allows, and that's like other nations, right? Exports, interstate travel, swap, right, from one subnet to another, provide liquidity, right? Allow, that's like basically making a wider highway. And we have this virtuous cycle where the primitive layers get stronger, and that allows the states to build better buildings and roads and experiences for the users. And then the DeFi layer makes it all work together and also work smoother, considering the constraint of us being on chain. And also allows us to work with outside environment, like outside countries, right? And the funny thing is, when you think about it like that, subnets provide essentially like savings to other subnets that they don't to outside tech, right? If I go to Lead Poet, for example, and I'm like, hey, I want to use your tech. They're like, you're a subnet. I'm willing to support you. Let me give you some, at least small discount, right? To our, right after their beta, of course. Let me give you a small discount. They're not going to do that for everybody in the world, right? So we get this benefit of using our nation's resources, Bittensor. And if you are an application, right, you're more of like a city, right, where people come to your city and they do fun stuff, right? You should make it a full experience. You should make it very cost effective. Another part of the presentation is if you build with decentralized AI infrastructure, especially if it's subsidized by Bittensor, you're going to be a profitable AI company. Like, that is such a novel concept when you have cursors or Claude spending $2,000 to make 200, right? It all makes sense.
I keep looking at what's going on with the centralized AIs and the announcements. Oh, we need this amount of money for data centers. And I think and it's going to take 10 years to pay back, but that data center is going to be obsolete in 6 years' time. Just with the rapid advances, and I just think this just can't be sustainable. And it's great that they brought the awareness, but it's paved the way, I guess, for Bittensor in a way to come up with a much better model that people now have, the general public have more of an awareness about AI and its value. And then so it's created the awareness. I often think that, I don't know why, I just keep coming back to this open AI going the way of MySpace at some point.
Maybe. I mean, it can.
I don't know. I think they're building a house of cards. And then as more people catch on to the better model, the better form of capitalism and Bittensor, and even you look at how Ridges how quickly it has advanced, how quickly, when you're saying there, you bought the subnet a few months ago, and how quickly you have been able to progress. And can you imagine that kind of rapid progression happening in for lack of a better way of describing them, centralized companies? It's hard to imagine. It's quite phenomenal. So I love that. I've not heard it described in that way, the countries, nation states. So I really appreciate that. And I think there's more and more talk now of how do we describe this? What metaphors can we use? And I think we're going to start seeing some really interesting ones. And actually, it's given me a better understanding too of Resi Labs as well. And and the market you're aiming for, and that tokenized real estate market as well. So that's been really good. So thank you for that. So I'm going to start the more human interest section with, what's the best piece of advice you've been given and by whom? And it can be any kind of advice. It doesn't have to relate to Bittensor, but it can.
Best form of like piece of advice that I ever got was a very rich man. I went to lunch with this super rich guy, and he said to me, "You know, Seby, I'm in the business of sleep preservation." And I was like, "What? That's like such a weird thing to say." But at the end of the day, if you're out there and you're right, nothing goes. You can't really get past yourself, right? You can't trick yourself to like past anything. So if you're out there scamming people, you're gonna lose sleep. If you build something on a house of cards, you're not gonna sleep well. If you don't sleep well, you're not gonna perform. If you don't sleep well, you're not gonna be able to maintain your relationships. If you don't sleep well, you're not gonna be able to maintain an ability. And I'm not saying you have to sleep a lot. I'm saying, you get your 6 hours in, they're really great, and you sleep like a baby. But if you're out there and you are just manipulating people and making claims you cannot substantiate in a sustainable manner, and right, the body is an amazing thing. The brain and the heart and the stomach as as an intelligence hub, it is an immaculate resource, and you can't get past them. You can't get past either of the three. So you might as well build something, and whether the token goes up and it comes down a bit, or the token goes sideways for 5 years, or whatever the case is, don't build something that you cannot substantiate, you can't bring to life in a sustainable way that doesn't damage others, right? If you can do that, and that is essentially what he meant in this very small sentence. I'm in the business of sleep preservation. He has a real estate company, right? He's not in the mattress industry.
No.
But yeah, that is my answer.
If you could have one superpower in life, what would it be and why?
Wouldn't it be funny if I said the power not to have to sleep? I'm just kidding, but that's not it. um, the one superpower that I wish I had was, I guess, better memory. Um,
Mm.
I've lived a really full life in terms of like, uh, not to sound like a Frank Sinatra song, but I've lived a very full life, and I wish I could have more memory. But I especially am not the person to be like, oh my God, let's take a picture right now. Um, so yeah, I mean, life is not about, oh, let me just build this thing. It is, I love working with the team. I love showing up to the development stand-up calls we do every day. I love showing up to the calls with our consulting team that helps us like really deep dive each subject. I love it when we get on the call with people who are naysayers, or chatting with them. Like I just love every part of it because it is in a direction that I know is positive. So I wish I had better memory, not just so that I can intellectually perform at a higher scale. I think that intellectually we're doing quite well, but there's truth to my mom saying, every time she would want to take pictures of us as kids, I'm like, Mom, stop trying to take pictures. And she's like, you want to remember these things forever. There's a lot of truth to that. Um, and I wish that I could remember those things forever and appreciate them for what they really were at the time. Not just being a kid and all that, but like even in my professional career, my building my first company with my best friend from my mom's basement. Like those are priceless moments. And I wish I remember more of
Yeah.
it, truthfully.
Yeah, it's the balance too, because I'm a great one in trying to live in the now, in the present. But there are so many precious memories that you do want to remember, and without getting caught in the past. And yeah, you forget so much in life, and you need that little trigger, and it's I remember that. I remember that now. Comes back. What was your favorite movie and why? Or should I say, what is your favorite movie and why?
Fair movie, and this is like the one where I make everybody watch it that I'm friends with or my family. Is the movie Casino. Simply put,
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it.
it's a Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci film that is about a guy who owns a casino and is very brash. It is like a Godfather's Goodfellas type of, you know, mob, uh, you know, group of people, but it tells a really good story. It tells a good story about how you can't change people. You can't change people's nature. It tells a really good story about coming from nothing and creating something special and helping others, and that is going to help you. Right? There's a lot of really great themes in the movie, and it's also hilarious. Right? Especially somebody who comes from like a very Italian background. It is just so funny watching these people operate in like the old way that the world used to be. So yeah, the movie Casino, right? It's not. I'm not going to say something profound. I do say that the movie Ready Player One is probably my like is another one of I think a really great movie because I do think there is truth to us living like in 15 years from now, mainly in a metaverse type of situation, not quite the Columbus, Ohio that they show, but uh, that was one that basically made me think like, oh wow, there could be a world where there is like a metaverse as the main verse that everybody lives in and operates in. That being said, tokenized tech and AI and VR are very important. But mainly the movie Casino. That is like my number one. You should watch it if you haven't seen it.
Sure, thank you. And it doesn't have to be any great philosophical answer, if I can say that word. Do you have a happy song or a favorite piece of music?
My favorite artist is definitely Frank Sinatra. Right. It's not like this degenerative type of music that people listen to now. Obviously, I used to, in my day, I used to listen to my fair share of Drake. Thank God I've grown past that. But Frank Sinatra, um, honestly, My Way by Frank Sinatra. That is the like pinnacle of music to me. Because it really it captures the essence of like I mean, I don't come from a family that is extremely wealthy or wealthy for that matter, right? I come from lower middle class. Uh, Building my real estate business in the beginning, I did that my way, right? Doing this now, no matter what everybody complains about, if they do, I'm going to do it my way, right? If it takes me a bit longer, sue me, right? I'm going to do it my way. Um, but yeah, I love that.
Preferably not sue you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a cracking song, but I think a lot of people really relate to the words and doing things their way. I think a lot of us in the Bittensor ecosystem as well, or the community, are quite independent minded and like to do things their way as well. So
They should.
yes, yes. So on that note, about of you doing things your way, I'm going to ask you one last question, and that is, why should people invest in TAO and in particular Subnet 46 Resi Labs?
The reason somebody should invest in TAO, first and foremost, is because you need to protect yourself against what is much larger and much more capable than you. What is larger and much more capable than you are two things that TAO captures the value and essence of in the form of its token, or Bittensor does in the form of its token TAO. And that is global human coordination. Most corporations take 10, 15, 20 years to capture that type of value, right, and scale. Um, and the compounding effect of creating intelligence. The intelligence that is being built on Bittensor right now today is not that ingenious, right? We're not cracking trillion parameter models, nor should we. It would be one of those substantiatable uh, falsehoods, right? You have Templar that is doing beautiful things, right? And they're building like 70 billion parameter models. But the essence of TAO is why you invest in TAO, and it is to defend yourself, right? People think you go into crypto to play offense. No, you are going into crypto to play defense against the world that is growing much faster than you can ever keep up with. That is the reason why to invest in TAO. The reason to invest in Resi is because you're early. You're early to tap. You're early to the point that the world will see TAO and its eventual competitors. It's kind of in a league of its own right now, but and the technologies produced by its eventual competitors as superior in all shapes and forms. The fact that I have, say, 250 possible employees all around the world that I can have compete on a bounty-based system that is programmable, that's insane, right? So that's the macro 100,000 foot view. The 50,000 foot view is that real estate is the biggest asset market in the world. Right? You can, and it is the most valuable in terms of usage. Everybody needs shelter, right? You and I are both under a roof right now. Different roofs in different places in the world, but roofs. And for a long time, due to lack of technological coordination, the industry of real estate has been stifled by horrible players that limit what can be done. And for good reason, right? More money, right? More time making that money. But Resi is the bet on, I wouldn't say decentralization, but distributed intelligence. It is a bet on the real estate industry needing to innovate because of how inflated prices have become and how creative we will have to be, and jobs only becoming harder. And then 3 is the bet against systems that limit growth, right? The people are starting to take back power of the world, kind of in a broad sense, right? The media is now people like you. The media is no longer the Foxes and CNNs and BBCs of the world. Sure, they're there. They'll probably continue to be there. But I really listen to people like yourself, right? And like the independent journalists we have in the TAO community. So that is part of like people taking power of the world again, where that's information. Now it's intelligence. Massive companies won't be able to keep up with Bittensor. And Resi, and I saw a wide open hole in Bittensor that said, hey, build something in real estate. Because this human coordination level of the crypto world needs it, 1. And 2, it's going to take time for others to learn this system, right? There's a lot to learn. So because we're here and we're not going anywhere, the token is going to go up, the token is going to come down, the token is going to go back up. And then it's going to keep doing that. Maybe it comes down a bunch, maybe it goes up a bunch. Who cares? What I care about is building a team and strengthening that team, clarifying my mission by bringing on customers for use cases, and that is it. If we continue to do that, there is a point where the entire real estate transaction process is done through Resi Tech, and you might not even know you're using Resi Tech. And that is the goal. It's a big one, but that is the goal, and that's what you're betting on and against here in Bittensor and on 46.
Not heard it described quite that way before, but yeah, everything you're saying, just a huge yes. and I that absolute focus you have on what you're doing, your mission, simplifying it, focusing on delivering what you know will make a difference is really quite a powerful thing too, because you're not going to get distracted. You know your mission and you're on it. I just think it's incredibly exciting. And I think the world is going to change in ways that we can't understand. And I think decentralization, TAO, subnets are going to be playing a huge part of it. And for many, many, many reasons, which we won't go into here. And I know you're pressed for time. So on that note, I am going to say thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. I've learned a lot. And I really like how you've made me see things in a different way. You've come at this from different angles that I've not heard before. So thank you very much. I'm going to go away and be thinking a lot about what you've said today. Thank you very much, Seby. It's been a privilege speaking to you.
This has been a lot of fun. I really like what you're doing. The People of TAO is a fun one, and I can't wait to read the rest. I've read both of yours so far. I learned things about these
Thank
people
you.
I didn't know, and I really look forward to the next ones because you seem to be very. I'm in your chats with you. You know, you seem to be very respected, and you have a very nice way of thinking about things. So I appreciate you and what you're doing.